Have you ever wondered why you feel so drained when you keep holding on to people who no longer bring light into your life? Deep down, you know the answer. It's because you're pouring your energy into something that no longer feeds your soul. You're investing in connections that have already run their course. And still you hold on, hoping they'll change, hoping they'll see you, hoping they'll finally give you what you deserve. But here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to stay. Some people are only part of your story for a chapter, not the whole book. The pain you feel right now is not proof that you are unworthy. It's proof that you've outgrown something that no longer fits. Think about how heavy it feels to drag old versions of people with you. You remember how they used to be, how much they used to care, and how much they once meant. But memories cannot sustain you. They cannot fill your heart with the love, respect, or encouragement you need today. And every time you go back to what has already ended, you rob yourself of the chance to move forward. You deserve more than leftovers from someone's half-hearted effort. You deserve the kind of energy that lifts you higher, not the kind that keeps you questioning your worth. The world has taught you that loyalty means holding on no matter what, that love means sacrifice, even when it hurts. But the truth is, real loyalty begins with yourself. Real love starts when you honor your own heart. Walking away is not weakness. Letting go is not giving up. It is the most courageous decision you can make. It means you have finally chosen yourself. Right now, you may feel guilty even for thinking about it. You may feel selfish for imagining a life without certain people. But selfishness is not the same as self-respect. Protecting your energy is not wrong. In fact, it's necessary. If you keep giving to those who only take, you'll have nothing left for your dreams, for your growth, for the life you're meant to create. So ask yourself, who would you become if you finally stop chasing people who don't value you? Imagine the freedom of waking up with peace in your heart, instead of anxiety. Imagine using your time and energy to build your future, instead of holding on to a past that keeps breaking you. Imagine standing tall, not because someone finally chose you, but because you chose yourself. That is the reward waiting for you on the other side of letting go. And here's why you should keep listening. Because this is not the end. This is the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where you no longer beg for attention, no longer shrink to fit into spaces too small for your spirit, no longer accept crumbs when you were meant for the feast. By the time you reach the end of this journey, you will see that letting them go was not a loss at all. It was the very moment you stepped into your power. It was the very moment you became free. You've been carrying people in your heart who no longer carry you in theirs, and it has been costing you more than you realize. Every moment spent waiting for their approval is a moment stolen from your growth. Every time you replay their silence in your mind, you delay the sound of your own voice rising with strength. You cannot build your future with hands that are still holding on to the past. The weight of their absence is not your burden to carry. It is a signal that your spirit is asking for space to expand. There is a reason you feel exhausted, even when you've done nothing wrong. The energy you lose when clinging to people who are no longer aligned with you is the same energy you need to heal, to grow, and to thrive. Psychology calls it emotional residue. When we refuse to let go, we replay old conversations, old wounds, old betrayals, and it keeps us chained to feelings that no longer serve us. That's why you struggle to find peace. It's not because peace is far away. It's because your hands are too full of what's already gone. Letting go is not just about cutting ties with others. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself you abandoned just to keep them close. Think of all the times you silenced your truth so they wouldn't walk away. Think of the dreams you delayed because you feared they wouldn't understand. Think of the love you kept giving, even when none was returned. That version of you deserves to be free. That version of you deserves to rise. The mind will try to convince you that if you let them go, you will be alone. But loneliness is not the same as emptiness. Sometimes solitude is the space your heart needs to remember its own rhythm. It's in solitude that you rediscover your power. It's in solitude that your vision clears and your energy returns. And when you are finally whole within yourself, you no longer chase after love. You attract it. You no longer beg for validation. You create it from within. The most powerful transformation begins the moment you decide you are worthy of peace, even if it means disappointing others. That choice rewires your entire life. Neuroscience proves that the brain builds new pathways when you choose new patterns. Every time you choose yourself over their neglect, you are literally reshaping your future. You are teaching your mind that you deserve better, that your happiness matters, and that your life belongs to you. And what happens when you live with that awareness? You stop fearing who walks away, because you know you cannot lose what was never truly meant to stay. You stop apologizing for your boundaries, because you understand they are acts of self-love, not rejection. You stop settling for scraps, because you have realized you are the feast. So hear this clearly: letting go is not the end of your story. It is the opening of a new chapter written by strength, clarity, and courage. The people who are meant to walk beside you will never require you to shrink. The ones who truly see your worth will never make you question your place, and until they arrive, your life is still worth living boldly, fully, and unapologetically. The freedom you've been searching for is already within your reach, waiting for you to release what no longer belongs. You are not here to beg for space in someone else's world. You are here to create your own. The moment you stop chasing people who don't see your value, your life begins to expand in ways you never imagined. That hunger you feel deep inside, the hunger for more, for freedom, for peace, that is your soul demanding that you rise above what has kept you small, and you will never find that freedom by clinging to hands that keep letting you go. Think about the truth you've been avoiding. Some people benefit from your silence, from your doubt, from your willingness to settle. As long as you keep giving them your attention, they will keep taking it because it costs them nothing, and it costs you everything. But the moment you pull your energy back, everything changes. The moment you decide no more, you take back the power you've been handing away. Power over your mind, power over your emotions, power over your future. It may hurt, yes. Growth always does. Your mind will scream for comfort, for the familiar, even if the familiar has been destroying you. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is the signal that you are outgrowing what no longer fits. When a snake sheds its skin, it does not cling to what it has outgrown. It does not mourn the old layer. It moves forward because that is the only way to survive. You are no different. Your spirit cannot breathe in spaces that no longer align with who you are becoming. Every time you hold on to someone who has already left emotionally, you are teaching yourself to accept less than you deserve. But every time you let go, you are teaching yourself that you are worthy of more. This is how identity is built, not in what you cling to, but in what you release. Psychology calls it self-concept reinforcement. Each decision you make tells your subconscious who you believe you are. Hold on to what drains you, and your mind learns you are powerless. Release what no longer serves you, and your mind learns you are strong, resilient, and free. Do not confuse rejection with loss. Sometimes rejection is the universe redirecting you to where you truly belong. Sometimes rejection is protection from paths that would have destroyed you. The very people who could not love you the way you deserve have freed space for the ones who will. And that emptiness you feel right now, it is not emptiness at all. It is the fertile ground where something greater is about to grow. Imagine the version of yourself that emerges once you stop pouring energy into what is already gone. Imagine the confidence that floods your spirit when you no longer wait for someone else's permission to be enough. Imagine the freedom of walking into a room without carrying the weight of needing to be chosen. That version of you already exists, buried under the weight of people and patterns you've been afraid to release. All it takes is one decision, one moment of courage, to begin living as that person now. Your future does not need their approval. Your healing does not depend on their return. Your worth is not waiting for their recognition. It has always been within you, and the moment you choose to honor it, life begins to open in ways that feel limitless. This is your turning point, and you are stronger than the fear that has kept you holding on. You were not created to live in chains made by the opinions of others. You were not designed to shrink yourself just to be tolerated. The very fact that you feel restless, the very fact that your heart aches when you betray your own truth, is proof that your soul is crying for expansion, and expansion requires release. You cannot rise if you are still anchored to people who refuse to grow with you. You cannot step into your higher self if you keep lowering yourself to match their comfort. Every time you hold back your light so someone else feels secure, you are burying your own potential. Every time you silence your voice so they won't leave, you are abandoning yourself. This is the reason you feel torn inside. It is not because you are unworthy, it is because you keep choosing them over you. And the longer you do, the further you drift from the person you are meant to become. Growth requires discomfort. It requires a breaking apart of old patterns, and a tearing away from attachments that no longer serve your path. Psychology calls this cognitive dissonance, the tension you feel when your actions no longer align with your truth. That tension is not punishment, it is a gift. It is your inner compass urging you to change direction, urging you to choose alignment over attachment, truth over fear, freedom over chains. Think about how much power you reclaim when you finally stop waiting for people to value you. Waiting is passive. It hands control of your life to someone else. But choosing yourself, that is active, that is powerful. That is the moment you take the pen back and start writing your own story. And when you do, you stop being at the mercy of others. You stop living in reaction, and you begin living with intention. Yes, letting go may feel like loss, but what you are losing is not love. What you are losing is the illusion of love that never matched your worth. What you are losing is the weight that has kept you from flying. When you release it, what you gain is far greater: clarity, peace, and the unshakable confidence that you can stand on your own. Your heart already knows this truth. That's why it aches when you keep returning to what broke you. That's why no amount of compromise ever feels right. You are not meant to be half alive. You are not meant to settle for halfway love, halfway respect, halfway effort. You are meant for the fullness of joy, for the wholeness of love, for the abundance of peace. And none of that can enter while you cling to what is empty. So let your hands unclench. Let your spirit breathe. Trust that by releasing what was never yours, you create space for what is truly meant for you. Trust that your future holds people who will see you, value you, and walk with you without conditions. And until they appear, trust yourself. Trust that you are already enough. Trust that the power you've been searching for in others has always lived inside you, waiting for you to finally claim it. The greatest shift you will ever experience comes the moment you realize you no longer need anyone else to validate your worth. That realization is the key that unlocks every door you thought was closed to you. For so long you've been chasing approval, waiting for someone to finally say you are enough. But enough is not something you earn from others. Enough is something you claim for yourself. When you understand that, you stop living as a prisoner of other people's opinions. You stop begging for a place at tables that were never built for you, and you begin building your own. This is the essence of true freedom. It is not about cutting everyone out of your life. It is about standing so firm in who you are that you no longer fear who leaves. It is about reaching a place where you can say, I release what does not serve me, not because I don't care, but because I finally care about myself enough to let it go. That level of self-respect is magnetic. It shifts the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself. People can feel it. And when they do, you no longer have to chase anything. Opportunities, relationships, respect, they begin to find you because you radiate certainty. You may not see it now, but the pain of letting go is not an ending. It is preparation. Life removes what is not aligned so that you can step into a higher version of yourself. If you keep clinging to what is broken, you block what is waiting to be built. If you keep holding on to doors that are closed, you miss the ones that are wide open. The universe does not take away to punish you. It clears the path for you to grow, to rise, to become. Every time you release someone who could not love you fully, you are not losing love. You are making room for real love to enter. Every time you walk away from disrespect, you are not losing connection. You are making space for respect that is genuine and lasting. And every time you choose peace over chaos, you are not losing excitement. You are creating the foundation for a life that feels steady, secure, and alive with purpose. The psychology of growth tells us that identity is shaped by repetition. What you repeatedly allow, you begin to believe you deserve. If you repeatedly allow neglect, your mind will convince you that neglect is your place. But if you repeatedly choose self-respect, your mind will rewire itself to expect respect as your standard. This is not just about letting people go. It is about retraining your entire nervous system to align with the truth that you are worthy. So do not be afraid of this process. Do not fear the silence that follows when you release what is no longer right. That silence is not emptiness. It is space. And space is what allows new life to form. Space is what allows you to breathe deeply again. Space is what allows you to hear your own voice, clear and strong, after years of drowning it out for the sake of others. That is where your power begins. That is where transformation takes root, and that is where you finally realize you never needed to be chosen, because you were already chosen the moment you decided to choose yourself. The moment you decide to choose yourself, everything around you begins to shift. The relationships that were built on your silence start to fade, because silence is no longer something you are willing to give. The spaces where you once felt small no longer fit you, because you refuse to shrink anymore. This is not a loss, it is a rebirth. It is life rearranging itself around your new sense of worth. And though it may feel uncomfortable at first, this discomfort is the sign that you are stepping into the life you were meant to live. Your mind will try to pull you back into the old patterns. It will whisper that maybe they will change, maybe they will see your value, maybe holding on will bring the love you deserve. But you already know how that story ends. You've seen it play out too many times. Waiting for someone else to see your worth has only kept you stuck in pain. Now is the time to stop waiting. Now is the time to stop hoping they will change, and instead become the one who changes everything. Your mindset, your standards, your boundaries, your future. What you accept in life sets the tone for how the world treats you. If you accept being overlooked, you will continue to be overlooked. If you accept being disrespected, you will continue to be disrespected. But when you decide that you will no longer tolerate what diminishes you, you raise the bar. You teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. This is why letting go is not an act of abandonment, it is an act of leadership. You are leading your own life towards something greater. There is a psychological principle known as the law of subtraction. It states that sometimes the greatest growth does not come from adding more, but from removing what no longer belongs. This applies to your relationships, your habits, your environment. When you subtract what is draining you, you create room for what will sustain you. The empty space is not a void. It is the soil where new strength, new clarity, and new connections will grow. And here is the truth you must hold on to. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not unworthy. You are simply someone who has been giving your energy to people who are not capable of receiving it. Their inability to love you fully has nothing to do with your value, and everything to do with their limitations. When you let them go, you are not rejecting love. You are opening the door to love that is real, love that is steady, love that is aligned with who you truly are. Imagine walking through life no longer weighed down by the fear of being left behind. Imagine how powerful you become when your worth is not dependent on anyone's presence or absence. Imagine looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing someone who chose courage over comfort, growth over fear, freedom over chains. That version of you is waiting to emerge. That version of you is the real you, unshaken, unapologetic, unstoppable. This is the moment you stop clinging to what is fading. This is the moment you open your hands and let go. Because when your hands are free, your heart is free. And when your heart is free, there is no limit to what you can create, to what you can become, to the life you can live. Freedom begins the moment you stop begging for it. You do not need permission to live fully. You do not need approval to rise. You do not need someone else to validate the path that your heart already knows is right. The cage you feel is not locked by others. It is locked by your own fear of letting go. And the key has always been in your hands. The key is the decision to choose yourself, even when it feels terrifying, even when it feels uncertain, even when it feels like everything familiar is slipping away. Your mind may fight against this decision, because the mind clings to what is known. Familiar pain often feels safer than unfamiliar freedom. But your soul is not here to survive in comfort zones. Your soul is here to expand. Growth is uncomfortable, but it is also the most liberating force you will ever experience. Every time you step into that discomfort, you are stepping closer to your highest self. You are proving to yourself that you are stronger than your fear, stronger than your doubts, stronger than the voices that told you to stay small. The truth is, you were never meant to stay where you were. That restless feeling in your chest, that sense that there is more waiting for you, is not a mistake. It is your calling. It is the whisper of your destiny, urging you to release what is holding you back. And yes, the release hurts. Yes, it feels like tearing away a piece of yourself. But what you are tearing away is not love. It is attachment. Attachment to what is no longer aligned. Attachment to illusions. Attachment to the idea that you must hold on to others in order to be whole. Psychology calls this the sunk cost fallacy. The tendency to keep investing in something simply because you have already invested so much. You tell yourself you cannot let go because of the time, the energy, the love you've already given. But staying only deepens the loss. Staying only empties you further. Walking away is not a waste of all you gave. Walking away is honoring it. Walking away is saying, what I gave was real, but now I choose to give to myself. That choice is not failure. That choice is wisdom. And here lies the transformation. When you let go, you create space for alignment. Alignment with peace. Alignment with love that does not require you to beg. Alignment with opportunities that match your true potential. Life responds to clarity. When you are unclear, you attract confusion. When you are clear, you attract what resonates with your soul. Letting go is that act of clarity. It is declaring to the universe, I know what I no longer want, and I am ready for what I deserve. Close your eyes and picture yourself unbound, unafraid, unchained. Picture yourself walking forward without looking back. Picture the weight lifting from your shoulders, the heaviness leaving your chest, the silence in your mind being replaced with peace. That is not a fantasy. That is who you can be the moment you release what is not meant for you. You are not losing when you let them go. You are gaining yourself. And when you gain yourself, you gain everything. The love, the peace, the joy, the strength. They are already waiting for you on the other side of release. All you need to do is open your hands, open your heart, and take the first step into freedom. The life you desire is not built by clinging to what weakens you, but by committing to what strengthens you. The moment you let go of those who drain your spirit, you begin to reclaim the energy that was always meant to be poured into your dreams, your healing, and your growth. You have spent too long giving your power away, waiting for people to notice your worth, waiting for someone to prove that you matter. But the truth is undeniable. You do not need to be chosen to be valuable. You already are. And the moment you realize this, you stop begging for scraps and start preparing for abundance. Your future is shaped by what you focus on. If you focus on the ones who left, you build a future tied to their absence. If you focus on the pain, you carry that pain forward like a shadow that never leaves. But if you focus on yourself, your growth, your purpose, your strength, you build a future rooted in possibility. This is not just theory. It is how the human mind works. What you give attention to expands. So ask yourself, do you want to expand your pain, or do you want to expand your power? Letting go is not just about people. It is about the version of yourself that allowed less than you deserved. It is about shedding the habits of settling, the patterns of people-pleasing, the mindset of scarcity. Every time you say yes when your heart says no, you betray yourself. Every time you lower your standards out of fear of losing someone, you lose yourself instead. And the cost of losing yourself is far greater than the cost of letting someone else walk away. This is why boundaries are acts of love. They are not walls that keep people out. They are gates that protect your energy. They are declarations that say, I will not abandon myself to keep you comfortable. And the more you honor those boundaries, the stronger you become. Strength is not built by holding on. Strength is built by releasing with grace and trusting that what is meant for you will never require you to compromise your soul. Think about the energy you free when you no longer chase. Think about the time you gain when you no longer obsess over someone's silence. Think about the peace that fills your heart when you no longer fight battles that were never yours to fight. That energy, that time, that peace, it is the fuel you need to create the life you dream of. A life where you wake up not with heaviness, but with purpose. A life where you do not question if you are enough, because you live every day knowing you are. The more you align with this truth, the more your reality begins to shift. People who once intimidated you no longer hold power. Situations that once broke you no longer shake you. And the love you once begged for starts to flow effortlessly into your life, because you no longer chase it, you embody it. This is the turning point. The moment where you stop seeing letting go as loss and start seeing it as liberation. The moment you realize you are not empty without them. You are whole without them. And from that wholeness, you create everything you once thought you needed someone else to give you. The strength is already within you. All that's left is the decision to rise into it fully, without hesitation, without fear, without looking back. The moment you decide to rise above what no longer serves you, a different kind of strength begins to awaken within. It is not the strength of holding everything together while you silently fall apart. It is not the strength of pretending you are okay while you carry the weight of other people's neglect. It is the strength of release, the strength of choosing peace over chaos, the strength of saying, I matter too. This is the kind of strength that changes everything, because it does not come from force, it comes from alignment. Your mind has been conditioned to believe that holding on is proof of loyalty, that endurance in suffering is proof of love, that sacrifice without return is noble. But true loyalty starts with yourself. True love is not meant to break you down to pieces. True sacrifice is meant to be shared, not demanded from only one side. When you understand this, you begin to see clearly that what you thought was love was often attachment, what you thought was connection was often dependence, and what you thought was loyalty was often self-abandonment. Clarity is painful, but it is also liberating. When you finally see the truth, you cannot go back to pretending. That is why the people you release may call you cold, selfish, or distant. But you are none of those things. You are awake, you are aware. And once you awaken to your worth, no amount of guilt or manipulation can make you return to who you were before. This awakening is what psychologists call individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself. It is the shedding of roles and masks that were never yours to carry. It is the moment when you stop living through the expectations of others and begin living through the truth of your own soul. Individuation is not the destruction of relationships, it is the purification of them. It filters out the ones who cannot meet you where you are meant to go, and it reveals the ones who are always aligned with your growth. It may feel lonely at first, but loneliness is temporary. Alignment is permanent. The silence that follows release is not empty, it is sacred. It is in that silence that you begin to hear your own voice again, unshaken, unfiltered, unafraid. And once you hear it, you will never allow it to be silenced again. This is why letting go is an act of self-respect. It is not cruelty. It is not abandonment. It is not weakness. It is the ultimate declaration that you will no longer negotiate your value. You will no longer pour yourself into cups that refuse to pour back. You will no longer confuse pain with love, or chaos with passion. You are no longer willing to settle for fragments when your heart was created for fullness. And here is the beauty. When you stop lowering yourself to hold on, you rise into the version of yourself you were always meant to be. A version that no longer chases but attracts. A version that no longer begs but receives. A version that no longer doubts but knows. That is who you are becoming every time you let go. That is who you already are beneath the layers of fear. And once you embrace this truth, nothing and no one can take it away from you. There comes a time when you must stop asking why they couldn't love you, and start asking why you kept loving them more than you loved yourself. This is the shift that turns pain into power. It is the moment you stop waiting for answers that will never come, and instead create the answers within your own life. Because the truth is, people's inability to give you what you deserve is not your failure, it is their limitation, and it is not your responsibility to carry their limits on your back any longer. Every time you chase someone who pulls away, you reinforce the belief that your worth is outside of you. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you teach your heart that love is something to be begged for, and every time you ignore your intuition just to keep them close, you silence the voice of truth that is trying to set you free. The cycle continues only until you decide it ends, and you hold that power right now, the power to choose yourself over the pain of repeating the same lessons again and again. The mind craves patterns, even destructive ones, because familiarity feels safe. But your spirit knows that safety is not the same as fulfillment. Safety in the wrong place is still a prison. Fulfillment requires courage. Courage to break the cycle. Courage to step into the unknown. Courage to believe that what waits for you beyond release is greater than anything you're leaving behind. This courage is not about pretending you don't feel the loss. It's about feeling it fully and still choosing to move forward. It's about acknowledging the ache in your chest and still knowing that your peace matters more. This is how resilience is built. Not by avoiding pain, but by walking through it and refusing to be defined by it. Psychology calls this post-traumatic growth, the ability to transform suffering into strength, heartbreak into wisdom, endings into beginnings. And you are capable of this transformation. Imagine what your life begins to look like once you stop shrinking for others. Imagine the clarity that floods your mind when you no longer wonder where you stand with people who were never standing beside you in the first place. Imagine the freedom of not needing their validation because you've learned to validate yourself. That is not just a dream. That is a reality you can step into the moment you decide to let go. The people meant for you will never force you to question your value. They will never make you beg for effort. They will never treat your presence as a burden. The ones who belong in your future will recognize your worth instantly, because it matches the worth they have already recognized within themselves. And until those people arrive, you are not alone. You are with yourself, and that is more than enough. This is your turning point, the place where the old cycle ends and a new one begins, the place where you stop searching for love in places that only drained you, and start cultivating love within your own soul. Because when you become love, you attract love. When you become peace, you attract peace. And when you become whole, you no longer fear who leaves, because you finally understand that nothing truly valuable can ever be lost. The love you've been searching for has always been closer than you think. It has been waiting within you, buried under layers of doubt, hidden beneath years of giving too much to those who gave too little. You have been so busy trying to be everything for others that you forgot how to be everything for yourself. But now the truth is breaking through. You are the one you have been waiting for. And when you realize this, your entire life begins to change. You no longer settle for half-hearted love. because you've learned to give yourself full love. You no longer chase people who leave, because you've discovered the strength of staying rooted in your own worth. You no longer silence your needs, because you finally understand that your voice deserves to be heard. This is the power of self-focus. It is not about arrogance. It is not about closing your heart. It is about finally giving yourself what you kept begging others for: care, respect, and devotion. Psychology calls this self-actualization, the process of becoming the highest version of yourself by aligning with your true values. Every act of choosing yourself over what harms you is a step toward this peak. Every boundary you set, every toxic pattern you break, every moment you decide to walk away from disrespect is a declaration that says, I am worthy of more. And the more you declare this truth, the more it becomes your reality. The people you release may not understand your transformation, but that is not your burden to carry. You are not here to convince others of your value. You are here to live it. You are here to embody it so fully that those who cannot match it naturally fall away, and those who are aligned with it are drawn into your life effortlessly. This is how life works when you stop clinging and start trusting. The energy you radiate determines the energy you attract. Think about the kind of life you create when your energy is no longer wasted on people who do not care. Think about the passion that returns when you invest in your own growth instead of pouring endlessly into those who never poured back. Think about the peace that fills your spirit when you stop wondering why they didn't choose you and start realizing that you have already chosen yourself. That is the life you are stepping into. One built not on desperation, but on confidence, not on lack, but on abundance. The reward for letting go is not just freedom from pain. It is alignment with joy. It is the rediscovery of your voice, your vision, your power. It is the ability to wake up in the morning without heaviness in your chest, because you are no longer carrying people who refuse to carry you. It is the strength to stand tall in any room, knowing that your value is not determined by who stays or who leaves. This is what happens when you focus on yourself. You rise, you grow, you transform. And in that transformation, you find that you never really lost anything by letting them go. What you lost was the illusion that you needed them. What you gained was everything you had been searching for all along: yourself. When you finally choose yourself, you begin to see how much you were giving away for so little in return. You start to notice the places where you traded your peace just to keep temporary company. You recognize how often you silenced your truth to maintain someone else's comfort. And with every realization, a new kind of power rises within you, the power of clarity. Clarity is freedom, because it strips away the illusions and shows you what is real. And what is real is this: you were never lacking. You were never unworthy. You were simply surrounded by people who could not meet you at the level of your light. This is why focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is survival. Because when you abandon yourself for others, you lose the very foundation that makes you capable of love, growth, and creation. Without self-focus, you become a shadow of who you were meant to be. But with it, you return to your center. You rebuild your strength. You rediscover your own voice. And from that place of wholeness, everything in your life begins to elevate. Science tells us that attention is the most powerful form of energy we have. What you give your attention to grows. When your attention is consumed by people who diminish you, your sense of worth shrinks. When your attention is directed toward your healing, your goals, and your vision, your life expands. This is not just an idea, it is a law of the mind. Focus creates reality. And the moment you turn your focus inward, you begin building a reality that reflects your true value. Letting go of others is only half of the journey. The other half is learning to hold on to yourself, holding on to your boundaries, holding on to your dreams, holding on to the truth that you do not need to be saved, because you were born with everything you need to rise. Every time you honor yourself, you are teaching your heart to trust you again. Every time you prioritize your peace, you are reminding your spirit that you will never abandon it again. That trust, that peace, that alignment, it is the foundation of unshakable confidence. Picture the version of yourself that lives from this place. The one who no longer fears being left, because you know you will never leave yourself. The one who no longer settles, because you know what you deserve. The one who no longer begs, because you know abundance flows where self-respect leads. That version of you is not far away. That version of you is waiting, right here, for you to fully step into it. And the truth is, you already have. By deciding to let go, by choosing to focus inward, you have already begun the transformation. The seeds of your new life are already planted. All that remains is for you to nurture them with commitment, consistency, and belief. The reward will be greater than you can imagine, because what you gain is not just peace. What you gain is alignment with your highest self. The version of you that does not chase, does not beg, does not break for anyone, because you finally understand that you were whole all along. The strength you are building now is the kind that cannot be taken away, because it does not depend on anyone else. It is not built on validation, attention, or approval. It is built on self-respect, on the discipline of choosing yourself over and over again, even when it feels difficult, even when old habits try to pull you back into cycles that no longer serve you. This is how true transformation takes root, not in grand dramatic moments, but in the quiet, consistent decisions you make to honor your worth. Every time you refuse to chase someone who walked away, you strengthen the muscles of self-love. Every time you pour your energy into growth instead of resentment, you train your mind to see opportunity where it once only saw loss. What once felt like emptiness begins to feel like space. Space to breathe, to think, to create, to grow. You realize that the void left by their absence is not a punishment. It is an invitation. It is room for new strength, new dreams, and new people who are capable of meeting you where you are headed, not where you used to be. Life is constantly shifting, and when something or someone leaves, it clears the way for what is truly aligned with your future. This shift can feel painful in the moment, but pain is often the proof of growth. Muscles tear before they grow stronger. Hearts ache before they open wider. Letting go may hurt, but that hurt is also a sign of renewal. Your mind will sometimes try to pull you back, because it clings to what feels familiar. Even if the familiar was hurting you, the brain loves patterns. But you are stronger than those patterns. You are more powerful than the pull of old wounds. You are not meant to live in repetition. You are meant to live in expansion. Each time you resist the urge to look back, you are rewriting the script of your life. You are proving to yourself that you are not trapped by your past. You are creating something greater. And this process is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you truly are, beneath the weight of other people's expectations, beneath the scars of broken trust, beneath the lies you once believed about your worth. When you strip all that away, you uncover the truth. You are enough, exactly as you are. You have always been enough. The journey of letting go is simply the journey of remembering that truth and living from it fully. Imagine how unstoppable you become when this truth is not just something you know, but something you embody. When your actions, your choices, your boundaries, and your goals all reflect the fact that you know your value deeply. Imagine how much energy is freed when you no longer waste it trying to prove yourself to those who never cared. That energy becomes fuel for your dreams. That focus becomes the foundation of the life you have always wanted. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you will never want to go back, because nothing compares to the peace of knowing that you are finally standing in the power of who you were meant to be. The moment you begin to walk in your own power, the world around you shifts. You no longer carry the heaviness of chasing love that was never meant to stay. You no longer waste sleepless nights rehearsing conversations in your mind, or wondering if you were enough. You no longer bend yourself into shapes that break your spirit just to be accepted. Instead, you begin to stand tall. And in that posture of strength, something incredible happens. People can no longer take from you what you no longer give away. Your energy, your peace, your joy, they become guarded treasures, and only those who honor them are allowed near. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is choosing to live from a place of self-worth instead of self-doubt. Psychology shows us that when people set firm boundaries, they feel more confident, more at peace, and more connected to their true selves. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors. And you hold the key. You decide who is allowed in. You decide who is kept out. For too long you gave that key away, hoping someone else would protect what you couldn't yet protect yourself. Now it's time to reclaim it. When you do, life begins to expand. Opportunities you once missed because you were distracted by the wrong people suddenly come into focus. Dreams you kept buried because you feared judgment start to resurface with new life. You notice that you have more energy, more clarity, more creativity, because what drains you is gone, and what lifts you has room to grow. The absence of what you thought you needed becomes the presence of everything you truly deserve. And this shift isn't just internal, it radiates outward. When you value yourself, others begin to value you too. When you set a higher standard, those around you rise to meet it, or they fall away, and that too is a gift. Every ending reveals the truth of who is meant to stay in your life. Every goodbye clears the path for a deeper hello. And in this process, you begin to see that losing what was never yours is not loss at all. It is liberation. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means releasing the grip that once kept you stuck. It means no longer tying your identity to people who could not see you. It means trusting that the love you poured into the wrong hands will one day be returned to you in ways beyond what you can imagine. Because love never goes to waste. It shapes you. It teaches you. It prepares you. And it makes you strong enough to recognize when the real thing arrives. You are not defined by who left. You are defined by who you become in their absence. You are defined by the strength you gain, the wisdom you carry, and the peace you protect. This is what growth looks like. Not bitterness, not regret, but a deeper sense of self that nothing and no one can take away from you again. You are becoming whole, and once you taste wholeness, you will never settle for fragments. This is your rebirth. This is your awakening. This is the moment you step fully into the life you were always meant to live. There comes a moment when silence speaks louder than any words you could ever say. That silence is not emptiness, it is power. It is the quiet knowing that you no longer need to fight for someone to understand you, to see you, to value you. It is the calm certainty that your worth is not up for debate. The greatest strength is not found in proving yourself to those who doubted you, but in no longer needing their validation at all. When you stop chasing, you stop bleeding energy into places that never deserved your light. That energy returns to you, and with it comes a sense of freedom that no one can take away. Psychology teaches us that self-acceptance is the foundation of mental resilience. When you fully accept who you are, flaws and all, you no longer fear rejection. Because rejection loses its sting when you no longer reject yourself. The opinions that once kept you awake at night begin to dissolve. The constant loop of self-questioning finally breaks, and in that space you hear your own voice more clearly than ever before. That voice has been waiting for you. It has been whispering that you are more capable, more powerful, more ready than you believed. This is where transformation truly begins. Not in the applause of others, but in the strength you discover within. When you build from the inside out, nothing external can shake you. The loss of people who were never aligned with your destiny becomes less of a tragedy and more of a turning point. You realize that not everyone is meant to walk with you into the future you are building. Some were only meant to be chapters, not the whole story. And when you stop clinging to chapters that have ended, you allow the book of your life to keep unfolding. There is beauty in what leaves you. There is beauty in what no longer fits, because their absence creates space for what will. The people who doubted you, the ones who left, the ones who could not stay, they are not evidence of your lack. They are proof of your strength to endure. You are still standing. You are still breathing. You are still here, carrying wisdom that pain could not destroy. That in itself is victory. Every time you choose yourself over what drains you, you plant a seed of courage. Every time you refuse to shrink to keep others comfortable, you water that seed, and over time, it grows into unshakable confidence. A confidence that does not scream, but radiates. A confidence that says, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I will not be stopped. This is the gift of letting go. It is not just about losing people, it is about finding yourself. And once you find yourself, everything changes. You no longer look for love in places that can't give it. You no longer beg for recognition from those blind to your value. You no longer compromise your peace for temporary comfort. Instead, you build, you rise, you create. You become so full of life that nothing missing feels like loss anymore. This is the freedom of choosing yourself. And this freedom is the beginning of everything you've been waiting for.